Bring in New York Jets owner and Jeb Bush presidential campaign finance chairman, Woody Johnson. Woody, good to see you.
Hey, nice to see you, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining us. So how does Jeb Bush make that breakthrough into the top of the Republican polls? Look at what we're looking at in terms of Donald Trump in the lead, Marco Rubio not far behind, and then you've got Jeb Bush all the way at the bottom with Dr. Ben Carson now.
I think what we've found out is when people understand who Jeb Bush is, and what he's done, and what he did as governor, and all the accomplishments as governor with unemployment, 1.3 million new jobs, cutting taxes every year, helping kids in third grade not to be socially promoted, which is a huge thing, and really representing children rather than the adults in the room. They will gravitate towards them. These are very, very positive, 90% approval when they know the story, and they think they know Jeb Bush, but they really don't know Jeb Bush.
Because he has to communicate who he is.
Yes.
Do you think he's getting better at communicating that storyline? Because many people think he's got the goods to be the leader of the free world. However, is he able to communicate that?
I think when people are ready to listen to a serious candidate, like the next commander-in-chief, if they look at the speech that he made at the Citadel, as an example, yesterday.
This was yesterday.
Yesterday, and you can look it up on the internet. But if you look at that speech, you see a commander-in-chief, particularly after Paris and that Russian plane that was knocked down. I think you see somebody that you're going to want to learn more about. And when they learn more about him, I think they're going to gravitate. And you take a look, for instance, in New Hampshire, people make their decision in the last week. And same thing in Iowa. So I don't know if they're focusing right now on who they want as president. They're focusing on other issues. They're mad. They're mad at what their lives have turned out to be for the last 8 years, 10 years. And they want to change, and they're looking for somebody to change it. And I think that will be Jeb Bush. So
you've been a student of this for a long time. I mean,
right.
Back in the Romney days as well. Do you believe the polls then this early on? Should we just ignore the polls right now?
I think completely ignore the polls.
Really?
The polls are not looking at who's going to be the nominee. It's more registering. I think the way the polls are, and a lot of pollsters have dropped out. Like a lot of the famous pollsters have given up because it's so hard to get an accurate poll. And so I think as we get closer, to the time when people are actually going to push the ballot button or the caucus button, then we'll get a better interpretation of what that is.
Jeb has been very clear in terms of his economic policy, his tax plan, how he would create jobs and cut down on regulation. I think he was very articulate in the debate about that. How would you grade him in the debate, by the way, that we just came off?
I'd give him a solid B.
Why not an A? What did he need to do better?
I think we can always do better. When I went to school, nobody got A's. The highest you get was a B. So a solid B is a very good grade.
Now, while he's been very specific about the economic plans, yesterday we heard some real specifics on the military plan, right, in that speech. He says he wants 40,000 more soldiers on the ground, 4,000 Marines, new submarines, new aircraft. At a time when America doesn't have a lot of will to send our men and women back into war, how does he make that case to the American people that this is what we need right now?
To keep a number one job of the leader of the free world is to protect Americans, and you can't protect Americans with outdated equipment, with no equipment, and to ask our soldiers to go to war and not be protected in time of battle with IEDs and all IUDs and all the things that they come across is irresponsible. The war, and the nature of war is changing. So we have to modernize our services and make sure they're all up to speed, and we get more young people coming in. And that also does create jobs. I mean, it creates jobs and it helps the economy, but it makes people feel safe, and it stabilizes the world, knowing that American power is there for them.
In fact, we've got 50 special ops right now who don't have any backup.
Right.
We got the smallest Navy ever, right? We got the smallest Army since World War II.
Right.
It's interesting that we're not hearing that kind of rhetoric on the other side, given the nature of reality right now. The world has become a much more dangerous place.
Right, and it's hard to do business in a dangerous world. So if you want to do business, if you want to increase the standard of living of everybody, particularly people that are just climbing up that ladder of success, and give them an opportunity to do that, you've got to grow the economy. And that's going to take a more stable world. that requires American leadership.
Speaking of the business end of this and the money end of this, is Jeb Bush having any problems in terms of money? We know where he is in the polls. Are donors getting nervous?
Everybody's always nervous in the primary. But no, I mean, I've been making calls all around the country, and after the last debate, which you were part of, no, they're engaged, they're positive, they're all in. There's no defections, or if there are defections, it's a kind of a normal thing. But no, we're doing very, very well.
So you think by the time Iowa, New Hampshire happens, we'll have a we'll have a better idea in terms of
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you think his numbers go up around?
I think they go up dramatically.
Let me switch gears, ask you about football. Your Jets, obviously, big controversy surrounding the daily fantasy football websites, DraftKings and FanDuel. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I mean, that's to be. I mean, I don't think it's gambling, but that's up for the Attorney General in New York. I think that's being litigated right now.
Does it have an effect on the game? Does it have an effect on the NFL?
I think it's new, so we really don't know. It's very popular, that's for sure. It's very popular. It's good for the TV networks and all that. They're doing so much advertising, amazing. But what effect it has on football, I'm not sure.
And what has the effect been on football after all of the things that we've seen, in particular, deflategate? What did you think about the ruling?
When you're as popular as football is, you're going to get that. You're going to get all these controversies are part of the media spin, and so they maybe get blown out of proportion. Or under proportion, underblown.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the NFL's brand continues to be incredibly strong.
It is.
Where is that resiliency coming from?
I think people love the game.
Yes,
they like the excitement, the fact that there's fewer games, so it's not like 190 games a year. It's, every game is important.
It sure is. All right. So what's the scoop on the Jets? You going to the Super Bowl?
We're going to try to win this week. We're down playing the Houston Texans, so tune in. And,
okay.
J.J. Watt, we're going to be facing him.
You still get nervous on big games like that?
I'm always nervous. I'm just as nervous as I was when I started.
Well, that's good. You want to be, right? You don't want to lose that passion.
I don't know. It's something I can't control. But, yeah, I think the fans are nervous. I'm nervous. Everybody, when I go out to the parking lot, everybody's so hopeful and optimistic and happy. They've forgotten the week before we lost a game. But they think we can win, and that's the most important thing.
All right, well, we're rooting for you in New York. Woody, good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Woody Johnson here. Don't forget.